This show is for informational purposes only. In view of the complex nature of health and disease, it is only recommended that you change your current treatments or healthcare practice with the direct assistance of a health professional. You can contact Dr. Dale if you desire to achieve true health. Call his office at 931-591-2010.
I was telling my video guy that the title of this had to be avoiding the number one disease killer in America, because the number one killer of Americans right now is medicine. M-E-D-I-S-I-N, medicine. And we're going to talk a little about that and some more. We're going to talk about heart disease today. We're going to talk about the most effective research-proven treatments for cardiovascular disease. Ways to lower your blood pressure naturally, ways to improve your cholesterol numbers, which are only indicators of whether your body is inflamed or not. So we're going to be discussing that. You're going to know how to do that naturally without destroying your liver and your kidneys and causing cancer, memory loss, and impotency, and a whole host of other things like heart failure, because that's what statins or cholesterol medications do. So just to kind of let y'all know that some of the articles and research studies we'll be going through, we're going to talk about how half a million Americans died and no one noticed. What they die from? They died from medications, and we're going to discuss why that's important in terms of heart disease. We're going to talk about Davy Jones, a singer from the Monkees who died of a massive heart attack at 66 years of age despite his perfect nutrition and healthy lifestyle. We're going to talk about how Health Chief slams the use of statin medications. He, in fact, says statins might alter what is written on your death certificate, but they are extremely unlikely to change the date. This is Dr. Kendrick and also Dr. Kailash Chand, Deputy Chairman of British Medical Association, who suffered awful muscle pains while taking statin medication. He claims that plans to prescribe them to millions more adults will only benefit drug companies. It's the only people who are benefiting from the current measures or the current medical treatments of cardiovascular disease, such as statin medications. Cholesterol drugs do any good? That's a darn good question to ask your doctor, and then find out whether they actually tell you the truth or if they even know the research or not. And again, all these subjects, all this information is not my opinion. This is me merely going through the evidence, the research, showing you the facts, showing you the evidence so you can make a truly informed decision. That's what I want to see happen in America. Statins stimulate the atherosclerotic process and heart failure, pharmacological evidence there. We're going to go through Crestor's prescribing information. And while we're at it, why don't we just talk about this one real quick? This is kind of funny. Crestor, this is actually the prescribing information from Crestor's website. Pulled this, I don't know, several years ago. But it was quite comical to me because right there in that blue highlighted section there, you'll see, it actually says, limitations of use. Crestor is a statin medication. Effect of Crestor on cardiovascular morbidity, that would be disease processes, and mortality, has not been determined. Yeah. Has not been, on the prescribing information. So any medical physician that says Crestor, for sure, if they try and convince you that Crestor lowers your chances of a heart attack or stroke or cardiovascular disease or cardiovascular death, they should read the prescribing information from the drug company, which says it's never been determined to do any such thing. It's just so frustrating to see so many people being lied to and harmed by the current medical system when I can get on PubMed, pull the research, the evidence, read it myself, give it to patients, which I gave it to a man the other day. He came in my office, he's on a statin medication, so what did I do? I gave him the research and evidence to provide him with the evidence in the peer-reviewed medical literature that quite frankly states he's being lied to. He didn't like that. And what's sad is it's not that he didn't like the fact that he was being lied to, he thought I was lying. He was very standoff. I mean, he just didn't understand. How in the world would my cardiologist not be doing what's best for me? Well, while I'm mentioning that, let's just read straight from statement by UCLA's Dr. Hoffman. He's a professor of ethics, medical ethics, that is. He says the way our healthcare system runs, it's not based on data, it's based on what makes money. Folks, if you can first understand that and grasp the fact that our American medical system right now is not based on getting paid on what makes money. It's not based on the data, it's not based on the science, the evidence, it's based on what makes money. And if they can medicate a indicator, not a cause of heart disease, the person will continue down the path of worsening health, greater cardiovascular events, more cardiovascular heart attacks, strokes. In fact, the drugs accelerate heart disease that they prescribe for heart disease, and the evidence proves it. And the pharmaceutical industry has lied about it. And now they've got doctors brainwashed into believing that lowering cholesterol, which is actually the body's defense against inflammation and arterial damage. We're going to discuss how one of the most effective treatments for blood pressure and anxiety are chiropractic treatments, upper cervical corrective treatments. Several studies on that. And these are studies not even from the chiropractic community, osteopathic literature, stating one of the most effective ways to lower your blood pressure is through a chiropractic treatment. Beta blockers and how drugs for blood pressure don't extend your life. That's a nice one. We'll go through that. Zapping nerves, how they're actually wanting to deaden your nerves, They want to deaden your nervous system so that you don't have blood pressure anymore. Just make you weaker. Coronary artery disease and meds, as effective as stents. Why stents don't extend the lives of patients. We'll be going through that. And we're going to go through again the most effective, research-based, evidence-supported treatment for cardiovascular disease is in your kitchen. So you can do it on your own. If you need help, give me a call. All right, folks, chime in, share the truth. Don't just like it. It's the only way we save lives, as I always say. I look forward to interacting with those online. Please do. We will be posting each one of these articles that I reference, I read from. We'll also be posting the research articles on thewilddoc.com. Get on there, subscribe, like it, share this video. Get people that, because the reality is so many people, it's hundreds of thousands of people are dying every single year from cardiovascular disease. We have some of the worst rates of cardiovascular disease events, stroke and heart attack in the westernized world. Yes, we have a lifestyle that's very, very poor in the United States, but the reality is people have been lied to. They've been told that things like high cholesterol cause heart disease, when in essence, they don't. They don't at all. High cholesterol is an indicator, it's not a cause. Your body will raise and elevate your cholesterol in response to inflammation and damage taking place within your body. We must address what is causing that inflammation. We must address that, and that's the only way we're going to extend a person's life. Cholesterol meds rob Peter to pay Paul. Again, a medical officer saying, listen, you're just changing what's on your death certificate, not the date. And in fact, you're actually accelerating or you're bringing about your death at a much sooner date. So let me get on here, make sure I got all the comments. Let me open this video up there. Kimberly, thanks for chiming in. See, Caitlin's online. Dennis is online. That's my dad. Daddy-o. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah. Jeff, Senior, thank you for tuning in, sir. Americans' health care and big pharma is focused on creating customers, not cures. I love the way you say that. Monica, thank you for saying, bless you, brother. Keep up the great work exposing the lies. And here's the reality. Let me talk about that for a second here. And I wanted to use this as an example. If this doesn't tick you off, what is taking place in America right now, the billions, in fact, trillions of dollars that are being wasted on harmful medications. While doctors get rich and pharmaceutical companies get richer and politicians get rich because the pharmaceutical industry is buying them off. Our lawmakers, our FDA, our CDC is in the pockets. They're nothing but pawns working for the pharmaceutical industry. Our entire system is bought off. Medicine has corrupted the entire government. Now, they're senators, they're representatives, they're Tennessee officials. There are government and congressional representatives right now that have good hearts. They want to help people. They want to see it done right. But it has corrupted the system way, way too much. The fact that they don't put CEOs of pharmaceutical industries in jail for what they've done and what they're doing, like killing people for profits, it's nothing short of murder, in my opinion. And we need to, as American people, stand up and say enough's enough. Put these criminals in jail. When 500,000 Americans, more people have been killed by the American medical system right now than Hitler killed. Now, the drug industry doesn't want you to die. They want you to be sick. They want you to be suffering. They want you to be begging for their drugs. They don't want you to die, but they don't want you to exactly be living life to its fullest. They want you suffering so that you're begging and pleading. You'll pay every dollar, every dime. You'll go bankrupt. You'll mortgage your home. You'll do whatever it takes to get their poisons, their drugs, to cover up the symptoms. And trust me, I understand that there are people suffering. They'll do it. They're at their wits' end. They need help. But that's why we have to point out the corruption so that they don't keep going back to the same medical system that's taking advantage of their suffering for profits and then making them worse, or not fixing the cause, letting them continue to deteriorate, thus making more and more money. It's the most perfect business model. You come in for the first problem. I've got headaches. Give me some ibuprofen now. It weakens my heart. That progresses on to worse condition. Now I got blood pressure. You get a blood pressure med. You know, the way the medical system works right now, you go in with one problem. You know what? The drug they give you comes with 2 or 3 side effects that they're already going to prescribe you the second and third drug for before you even walk out of the visit for the first. So the first time you go to the doctor for a problem, you've got 3 medications that you got to go and fill from your pharmacist. And you just keep getting sicker and sicker because those drugs are not healing your body. They're poisoning you. And I'll prove it. Take any drug there is on the market, swallow every single pill in the full bottle of that medication. It's going to kill you quickly. So what does 1 pill a day do? It kills you slowly. And that's the truth. They destroy our bodies. They're poisons. They manipulate the physiological systems within the body, the hormones or the chemicals in our body, and they make us weaker. That's how calcium channel blockers or beta blockers work. They weaken the arterial walls or they weaken your heart, thus bringing the blood pressure down, making your numbers look better, but actually killing you sooner. Again, the evidence is here within the medical literature. Now let's go back to why I hammer the corruption in medicine. Because it's sad. It's like there's a time and place to be angry. There's a time and place. It's like outrage has died in America. Good men stand by idly and do nothing. Good physicians stand by and do nothing. Congress members stand by and do nothing when they allow the pharmaceutical company to keep pushing their agenda, whether it be vaccines or their drugs. Look at this. We should go back to these CEOs of Merck, the pharmaceutical company that pushed the drug Vioxx, and put them all in jail right now, take all their money that they made on this drug. We're going to go through this entire article so people get the clear picture of how corrupt, how the people or the pharmaceutical industry of America does not care about the lives of children. They don't care about the lives of adults. They don't care about the lives of our grandparents, our aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. It doesn't matter. They want your money. Are American lives cheaper than those of Chinese? It's a question raised by Ron Unz, publisher of the American Conservative, who has produced a compelling comparison between the way the Chinese government dealt with one of the drug scandals, melamine, in baby formula, which killed children, versus the U.S. in the way we handled Vioxx. Vioxx killed more than 500,000 people in 5 years. No CEO went to jail, but for putting a drug into baby formula in China, there was long prison sentences handed down, and a couple of the guiltiest culprits were tried and executed for their role in killing babies for profit in China. You know what? You can be your own. You can decide: is the death penalty? Is it Is that okay? Can we be that judge? You know what? But they shouldn't be keeping the money they made on the drugs, and they definitely shouldn't have jobs in the pharmaceutical industry anymore, and they definitely shouldn't have jobs in the FDA or the CDC, which the FDA and the CDC and the pharmaceutical industry, it's a revolving door. They just go from one job to the next to the next to the next. The recall in Vioxx came just days after Merck discovered that the top medical journal was about to publish a study by the FDA or an investigator of the FDA indicating that the drug in question greatly increased the risk of fatal heart attacks and strokes. They admitted 55,000 people died, but when you look at the facts, you'll see much more. It soon turned out that Merck had known the potential lethal side effects even before launching Vioxx in 1999, but had brushed all such disturbing tests or research under the rug. They withheld the evidence that they knew was going to kill people. It was not safe. They should have never brought it to the market. They held that evidence back. They didn't give it to the FDA. The FDA still gave them permission to go ahead and sell their drugs. With TV ads and budget averaging $100 million per year, Vioxx swiftly became Merck's bestseller, generating $2 billion in yearly revenue. So take that. $2 billion in yearly revenue on a drug that was killing people from heart attack and stroke. A class action lawsuit. Eventually, the drug company got to settle for $4.85 billion in 2007. Yet they made $2 billion per year. This is what's so ridiculous about our law system right now. The pharmaceutical industry is killing people for profit. They're lying. If I had a pit of vipers, put a rug over it, and let people walk through my door, and trick them into walking down a hallway or walking down a path, and I knew they were going to die. It's like, here, get on this Ferris wheel. On the path to the Ferris wheel, I knew the Ferris wheel was going to kick so many people off, but I was taking their money, and they paid me more. And then after they fell off the Ferris wheel, they broke their arm, and then I got money for fixing their arms. Like, that's the way the medical system works. They're making money, convincing people they should do something. The people do it because they have blind faith in their doctors. I don't understand how people have blind faith in doctors anymore. How do they trust the medical physicians when time and time again the drug company lies to our physicians? Our physicians just, oh, yeah, Avandia and Vioxx killed people, but there's this new drug. We should try this on you. Like my patients today. I had several patients. They're like, yeah, my doctor wants to try this drug. Nothing else has worked. They want to try this one. It's a brand new drug on the market. Well, then you're the guinea pig. They're like, I know. That's why I'm not taking it. That's why I'm coming to you, doc. I need your help. Get me off. Get me healthy. But why do we trust physicians when they trust liars and thieves and murderers? So 5 years times $2 billion, that's $10 billion. They lost less than half of their profits. Less than half of their profits. If a drug company lies about a drug, which kills people, and they knew it was going to kill people, they should lose every penny and then some. They should lose always double their profits. Double their profits. Destroy the pharmaceutical industry every time they lie and kill people for profits. Destroy. That company can never work again. It's destroyed. Done. Over with. I mean, we wouldn't let any business, local business in town, sell something and kill people and kill babies and kill grandparents for profits. We wouldn't, as a community here in my town, do that. I don't think they would. And be like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to them and get my milk and eggs again if Kroger was killing people for profits right now, selling stuff on their shelves that were, well, they kind of are. I mean, there's a lot of junk food out there, too. My bad. I mean, you get what I mean. We should have freedom. If you want to eat a Twinkie, whatever, eat a Twinkie. If you want Pop-Tarts, feed your kids poison. I know somebody's like, less than my kid won't eat anything with Pop-Tarts. You understand my kid. The year after the scandal unfolded, Merck, longtime CEO, resigned, was replaced by one of its top lieutenants. It's like they're military. But he retained his $50 million in financial compensation he had received over the previous 5 years. Neither he nor any Merck executive was charged with corporate maleficence. None of them charged with anything, despite they were like the kingpin. Like, all right, we need to get our drugs on the market. We're going to kill a lot of people. We're going to make a lot of money on this. Let's get it. Because the government, they don't come out. They don't put the hammer down on us. No way. We can sell our drugs every time, and we get away with all our money. So I'm just going to make a couple $1 billion from my drug company friend here, and they're going to get it. And then I'm going to go ahead and get away scot-free because this darn government, they don't care. We're drug companies. We get to do what we want because we own this place. It's mine. All right, copper. I mean, we should be able to turn them into the law here in local. And like that CEO, he was the head of a drug ring. They killed people for profits. Go after him, sheriff. I'm filing a, why not? I feel like I just lost like 6 people on that one. We got a question, I think. April says, is it possible to get off blood pressure meds after being on them for so many years? I've had people on blood pressure meds for 20 years. We adjust their atlas, their upper neck, and we adjust their lower cervical spine, C5 to T2. That's the area you want to concentrate on, and also the atlas. Adjust that. It's called essential hypertension. It's caused from an imbalance in the nervous system as a stress response, high sympathetic tone. Check your spine. Raw garlic, fermented garlic does phenomenal. Wild garlic has more allicin in it than cultivated garlic, and it lowers blood pressure better than cultivated garlic. But garlic is more effective than the drugs. So garlic so many better ways without the risk of dying. Garlic would extend your life. And time and time again, there's plenty of research that shows that. All right, so Vioxx scandal began to sink in the vast march of semi-forgotten international pharmaceutical scandals. I mean, there's a marsh of them. Vast marsh. Unprecedented drop in American death rate, though. So in 2005, the mainstream media was running articles about how mainstream medicine was baffled. They were surprised. They were scratching their heads, wondering how in the world did American deaths fell? They fell by 50,000 despite growth in both the size and the age of the national population. Government health experts were quoted in saying, I'm surprised at this. I'm scratching my head. Oh, wait, you took a drug that was killing people off the market. So that would just be, association. That in 2005, when in 2004, we saw a huge drop from 2004 to 2005. In 2005, when they announced that, hey, last year we saw a huge drop in mortality. 50,000 less Americans died. Huge. First time ever. It wasn't continuing to decline. Why? Well, you took a drug off the market. We find that the largest rise in American mortality rates occurred in 1999, the year Vioxx was introduced, while the largest drop occurred 2004 to 2005, the very year it was withdrawn. This drop corresponds to roughly 100,000 fewer deaths per year. Patterns of cause and effect cannot easily be proven, one says. But if we hypothesize a direct connection between the recall of a class of very powerful drugs proven to cause fatal heart attacks and deadly illnesses with an immediate drop in national rate of heart attack and deadly illnesses, then statistical implications are quite serious. Perhaps 500,000 people die prematurely each year from Vioxx. And almost no one among our political or media elite seems to care. They don't care. I care. I care about those lives. Those lives have never truly been reconciled. Money will never make up for the lives that have been lost, the grandparents that were lost. The inescapable conclusion is that in today's world, and in the opinion of our own media, American lives are quite cheap, unlike those in China. Because in China, you do something like this, you might go to jail for a really long time, or you might get put to death because you murdered people for profits. But the doctor says this. He says, besides laughing, it's kind of, this guy's got kind of like an evil. He says, it shows the stupidity of our political leaders that they didn't seize upon this great opportunity. This is literally this guy quoting, it shows the stupidity of our political leaders that they didn't seize upon this great opportunity. They should have just renamed Vioxx safe Social Security drug and distributed it freely in very large doses to everyone starting at the age of 65 on their birthday. Maybe they should have even made it mandatory, kind of like vaccines. 3 times. I mean, why do you think the government is pushing for vaccines like hepatitis B that unless you're an IV drug user and a prostitute or you're sexually promiscuous with, get me, you can't spread it. You're not going to spread it real easy. But they mandate it. And there's several diseases that aren't easily transmitted unless you're doing really wrong things. So when you're at school, you're not going to transmit unless you're doing something in the back hallway or in the back room that you shouldn't be. Do you get me? But they're mandating those vaccines. HPV. You can't go to school in California unless you get your HPV and your hepatitis B vaccine. You want to know why? Because those vaccines, like hepatitis B, is known to cause diabetes. HPV is known to cause chronic deterioration of a woman's health to the point where they have ovarian failure, where they'll have rheumatoid arthritis, where they have lupus, where they have autoimmune, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, all kinds of inflammatory immune reactions, chronically sometimes for the rest of their lives unless they find somebody good that's able to heal and detoxify their body. That's a profit generator for the rest of that person's life to the pharmaceutical industry. That's why they're pushing for mandates. Maybe they should have even made it mandatory 3 times a day. At the sufficient large levels of the national consumption, Vioxx could have almost single-handedly eliminated all of our serious budget deficits. Vioxx could have been the miracle anti-deficit drug by just killing a bunch of Americans, then we don't have to pay Social Security anymore. Like, that is so evil just to even think that. All right, folks. Thanks for chiming in again. Make sure you're sharing this information. If you're watching on the TV, local station, you got my office here in town if you want my help for getting healthy so you no longer need your medications anymore. I'm a doctor of cause. There are true underlying causes of health conditions, and none of which are the result, and the cause is never the lack of a chemical drug made by man in a laboratory. That's it. That's not the cause. You're not lacking some poison made in a chemical pharmaceutical laboratory. You're lacking either nutrition, you're lacking less stress in your life, you've got to exercise more, you need adjusted, you need a spine in better alignment. It's out of alignment, it's causing pressure on the nervous system. So when I say that, one of the first things I want to do is I want to address what, if I ask people in America or anywhere else, for most places in the world, if I ask what causes cardiovascular disease, what causes heart attacks, what causes strokes, cardiovascular disease, what causes that? I would say 90+% of the population would say diet and lifestyle, which plays a huge part, huge part. Don't get me wrong here, but they would say that. So let me read you this. The monkeys, Davy Jones, dead at 66 years of age. Now, I started reading this article and was getting ready to go to London, the London Olympics in 2012, so I'm getting ready to get on a plane, and I'm literally sitting there. I wasn't competing, but taking care of some U.S. judo, wrestling, weightlifting. I'm not that great of a chiropractor. You know what? I was on the team. I had to get certified. I made sure that I could if they needed me to, but there was other in the organization I was part of at the time taking care of those team members and those Olympic athletes, because I live in Clarksville and there's not a whole lot of Olympic athletes here in Clarksville. They usually go out to like Boulder, Colorado, phenomenal place, hike the incline. That'll get your cardiovascular system worked up. Was getting on the plane, getting ready to head over there, and I get this article, and I love reading articles about health and nutrition and research. I want to know what's going on recently in the world of healthcare. You know, what are the lies the pharmaceutical companies are telling you, in the mainstream media, the fake news. You know, but I come to this article, and I just about quit reading it because I was like, I don't even know who Davy Jones is. It means nothing to me. Why am I reading this? But I came to this sentence before I quit. He was a vegetarian. There's not an ounce of fat on the guy. He lived on the beach in Florida and ran miles every single morning. This is the last person I expected this to happen to. He couldn't have been in better shape. So this is a friend of his saying this man ran miles every single morning. He exercised every day. He ate a vegetarian diet, which you'll see in the research, proven by physicians at the Cleveland Clinic, supposed to be one of the top cardiology clinics in the U.S., but still handing out drugs, knows that a plant-based diet is phenomenal, is more effective than drugs, surgery, anything else out there medicine has ever tried. Again, that's why the best cure, the best treatment is in your kitchen, that you can do yourself. Now there's multiple facets. That's what I'm getting to here. You have to understand what I'm trying to do here is explain to the world that people need to understand that there's multiple facets that go into the development of a disease process. All right, why can somebody who exercises every single day, eats a phenomenal diet, a plant-based diet, how could Davy Jones die of a massive heart attack if it's just lack of exercise and it's poor diet, if that's all that's causing this disease? You know what? We have to see that the cause of the disease was in his spine. I said a prayer immediately following that sentence right there, and I said, God, some of this article, you're going to give me the answer to why this man died. I said, God, please allow me to connect it to his spine. And I continued on reading. It says here, he told Britain's Daily Mail, last year I used to be 5'4" inches tall, but I've lost an inch. What's the significance of that? We don't lose height in our long bones, our legs. We lose it in our spine. Degenerative disc disease is known to increase cardiovascular risk factors, especially if the degenerative disc disease occurs in the spine between the areas of C5 to T2. Also, forward head positioning, decreased posture, or poor posture is known to cause stress responses, high sympathetic tone, and neurogenic inflammation. And that will cause inflammation that goes down the nerve roots into the heart, causing damage to arterial tissue in that region, as well as the heart, weakening the heart, causing stress on that organ system, causing stress and inflammation in that area of the body, thus building up plaque and thus cardiovascular disease. And that's why several studies have proven that adjustments to the region of the spine, reversing degenerative disc disease to improve the mechanical motion of the spine in that region, and correcting upper cervical alignments decreases that stress response, that neurogenic inflammation, and actually improves the intermedia, so the heart, or the arteries, the thickness of the walls improved. Cardiovascular, the strength of the heart improved, so it helped reverse heart failure. And this was an osteopathic journal showing that so adjusting people over a year's time reversed cardiovascular disease, and that's the only intervention. So the Archives of Internal Medicine is showing that a man who shrinks 3 centimeters or more from spinal deterioration has a 64% greater mortality risk, death from all causes, and a doubling of their heart disease risk. That's all I needed to say. Davy Jones died because he didn't know a truth. He didn't know another component of his health was the health of his spine. We have to get the spine checked. We have to evaluate that along with providing our body with all the essential nutrients and detoxifying on a regular basis, and that's how we maintain our health. Health chief slams statins. Again, millions face terrible side effects as prescriptions escalate. And again, these are, listen to this. Deputy chairman of the British Medical Association says the drugs are awful. They cause awful side effects. Another doctor saying that statins might alter what's written on your death certificate, but not going to alter the date. Do cholesterol drugs do any good? One of the best articles I've ever found. Okay, this one came from Business Week. I think we posted it on Bloomberg on here. But again, it states that no overall reduction in total deaths or illnesses requiring hospitalization, despite big reductions in cholesterol. Most people are taking something with no chance of benefit but harm, but significant risk of harm. Another statement in this article, it says, in contrast, the only large clinical trial funded by government rather than the drug companies found no evidence of benefit at all. And the government still didn't do anything. That's crazy. So pharmaceutical companies lied about the effectiveness of this drug. It's literally a blockbuster drug, statin medications for its psychotropic meds, the meds for our mind, which is funny because the number one selling drug to Americans is now psychotropic mind-altering medications, and the second leading medication sold to Americans is cholesterol medications. Ironically, the side effect of cholesterol medications is severe depression and memory loss, cognitive problems, mood disorders. So the number one for a while, which was cholesterol medications, contributed to the rise of now the number one drug, depression meds. I'm telling you, they got the racket down to a science. And the only science the pharmaceutical industry is using is how to get more people sick so to get them on more drugs. They're not using science to find cures. So whenever you give Susan G. Komen and all these other they're going in circles, not doing much at all. We are literally giving the government and drug companies money, handouts, like charity. Like they're a charity organization. Like here you go, they're front groups. A lot of the charity organizations are nothing more than front groups, big pharma, and they're taking money. We're donating money to find a cure, in which goes into pharmaceutical research. The pharmaceutical companies are the richest organizations in the world. They don't need a dime of our money. They don't need nothing. Stop it. Stop giving charity money to pharmaceutical industry. They're corrupt. They're horrible, horrible organizations. Listen to this. In contrast, what if 250 people in a room, you put 250 people in a room, and you told them they would each need to pay about $1,000 per year for a drug they would have to take every day, that many would have diarrhea, muscle pain, be impotent. About 249 of those would have zero benefit, and that they could do just as good by exercising. How many would take that? See, that's the problem. They're not given the evidence to actually make an informed decision. They say that 10 to 15%. Now they're finding a lot more than that. Of statin users, cholesterol medication users would be including muscle pain, cognitive impairment, and sexual dysfunction, which ironically, if you have sex more often, you'll actually have, I should say make love. If you have love more often, you'll actually reduce your risk of cardiovascular death. It's like exercise. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, husbands, take this for what it is. Tell your wife, I want to prevent the #1 killer in America. Let's go make love. Guys, it's phenomenal. It's like you don't need your doctor. You just need a good, healthy sex life. Resources are not going. So, let me hear. Think about this. You're taking a drug that literally causes muscle pain, which then won't allow you to work out or make love. And then you're not making love because you're impotent. So you're taking away things that would benefit you. So then they want the blue pill, the little blue pill, the one that makes you strong like bull, or will give you something that, if lasting 4 hours, you should call your doctor. Or just have a lot of fun. What else we got here? What the shrewd marketing people at Pfizer and the other companies did was spin it to make everyone with high cholesterol think that they really needed to reduce it. It was an indicator, not a cause. Remember that. It's almost impossible to find someone who believes strongly in statins who does not get a lot of money from the industry. So if your doctor believes in it, he's getting a lot of money from the industry. It's simple as that. But the drug makers delayed announcing the results. What they delay announcing was that another Zetia statin medication was killing people, prompting scientific outrage and threat of congressional investigation. The results finally revealed on January 14th showed that the combination of Zetia and statin reduced LDL levels more than the statin alone, but that didn't bring added benefit. In fact, the patient's arteries thickened more rapidly when taking them in combination with the statins alone. Again, UCLA is the way our healthcare system runs. It's not based on data, it's based on what makes money. So, you guys get that. Do cholesterol drugs do any good? No. No, no, no. Tell your neighbor, tell your pastor, because I guarantee you ask every single person around you. See, this is what we need to do as a community of people. Now that you've been given a truth, you need to share it. Because if you don't start asking people and say, listen, it's wild. I got something for you. I need to show you this. I need to show you the truth. This will be posted on the Wild Doc, all right, my website. Statins stimulate atherosclerosis and heart failure by pharmacological mechanisms. Again, I'm reading the research. This is not my opinion. This is the fact, and you can see my opinion of the pharmaceutical industry because I just don't have a great opinion for people who have no morals and no ethics and feel that the dollar is more important than the life of a children or adult, anybody. Statins may be causative in coronary artery calcification and can function as mitochondrial toxins, which, ironically, I believe I have a research study on the pull, since I talk a lot about and I want to help a lot of the children with autism, and I do. But mitochondrial toxins, that's why lower cholesterol levels in statin medications are connected, quite possibly, to autism as well. Another contributing factor to that epidemic. Toxins, because mitochondrial dysfunction is a problem. We're seeing more and more of that. That impair muscle function in the heart and blood vessels through depletion of CoQ10 and HEM-A. and thereby ATP generation is reduced. Statins inhibit the synthesis of vitamin K, the cofactor in the matrix GLA protein activation, which in turn protects arteries from calcification. Statins inhibit the biosynthesis of selenium-containing proteins, one of which is glutathione peroxidase, serving to suppress peroxidative stress, and impairment of selenoprotein biosynthesis may be a factor in congestive heart failure reminiscent of the dilated cardiomyopathy seen in the selenium deficiency. Thus, the epidemic of heart failure and atherosclerosis, the plaques, that plagues the modern world, plaque and plague, the modern world may paradoxically be aggravated by the pervasive use of statin drugs. The purpose of the current statin treatment guidelines be critically reevaluated. Recently, cholesterol ester transport protein inhibitors were developed, and they were effective at lowering cholesterol ratios, the LDL and the HDL levels. There's not a good and there's not a bad. Okay, here's the way cholesterol works. If you just explain this to your doctor, maybe you'll help them in understanding why the drugs are actually killing people. So let's take any wall. Let's say pretend it's an arterial wall, this wall in this room right here, okay? That's your arterial wall. Now, if I come through here and I bust a bunch of holes in this wall, that's inflammation. Whatever's damaging arterial walls, that's the problem, me with a hammer, not the repair guys. See, LDL is the repair guys that come in and put down spackle. They put down the plaque to heal that damage, repair that wall. Now, their partner, HDL, comes through and sands it down. That's why we call them the good. HDL's the good, LDL's the bad. They're not bad, they're healing the damage. They're repairing the wall. You wonder why hemorrhagic stroke is a side effect of cholesterol medications, which is the most deadly type of stroke? Because if I keep busting holes in this wall right here, faster than and I keep firing the repair guys, the LDL or even the HDL, I keep getting rid of them, well, I'm busting holes until this wall collapses, and that's your hemorrhagic stroke, and that's why more people die in a hemorrhagic stroke, because of cholesterol medications. Just go up to your doctor and get him with a tack hammer and say, if you think cholesterol medications are going to help me prevent heart disease, you're a moron. Just hit him in the head with a tack hammer like Tommy Boy used to say. Isn't that Tommy Boy, that movie? I love those comedies. Laughter's a good medicine, too. So, however, unfair and unethical problems were associated with the clinical trials produced by industry. New panel regulations on clinical trials came into effect in 2004. After 2004-2005, all clinical trials performed by scientists relatively free of conflict of interest with pharmaceutical industries reported that statins were effective in lowering LDL cholesterol, but no beneficial effects were observed in the prevention of cardio or coronary artery disease. However, our group did not adopt the results of any industry funding publications. So, statins stimulate the development of atherosclerosis, that's hardening, plaquing of the arteries, calcification of the arteries, weakening the arteries, causing them to rupture more easily, and heart failure. The lines of evidence described below led us to propose that the current statin therapy should be critically and urgently reevaluated. Statins inhibit CoQ10 hem biosynthesis, ATP generation, which is energy produced by your mitochondria for every single cell in your body. Essential for normal heart function and metabolism of cellular components and other activities in cell life. Statins are mitochondrial toxins, and they deplete ATP. All mammalian cells are dependent on mitochondrial function for health. Any tissue damage, whether derived from pathogen or non-infectious damage, toxins, neurogenic inflammation, stress, may influence inflammation and repair and damage is necessary, leading to an increase in cholesterol, the repair guys. In the case of familial hypercholesterolemia, because there's people out there who will ask that question, is what about familial? What about the people that have genetically predisposed to high cholesterol? Well, that's just a condition where you have less cell receptors for cholesterol. It's like having less fishing poles, so you better hope you're fishing in a pond that has more fish, more cholesterol. The fish is the cholesterol. You better hope there's more fish in the pond to get and catch as many fish as necessary to feed you and your family. So that's why your body increases the cholesterol when you don't have enough cell receptors, enough hooks. Hopefully you understand. Yeah. Glutathione peroxidase. I mean, there's so many things, and I know that I only got 20 minutes left here to get through all this research here. We present an urgent proposal that statins are contraindicated in patients with diabetes mellitus. Time and time again, all the studies have shown that the cholesterol medications, by lowering cholesterol, you increase the rate of diabetes. If you are actually taking Lipitor, if you're a female, for sure, you can sue the maker of Lipitor. For what? For causing your diabetes. And diabetes is the number one risk factor indicator, in essence, in diseases for cardiovascular disease. They kill people faster by medicating them. They cause their, time and time again, I get patients coming in my office, I review their medications with them, and I ask them a simple question. So I see that you're on metformin, and I see that you're on a cholesterol medication. Which one came first? Oh, my doctor put me on the cholesterol medication first. I said, and a few years later, you went on metformin, right? And they said, yep. How'd you know that? I said, because you are taking a drug that causes diabetes. Your doctor never identified that? And your doctor never read the research and studied physiology and biology to understand what cholesterol actually does in the body? That's funny. And he's a cardiologist? That's really funny. So he's supposed to be the expert of cardiovascular health, yet he's putting you on a drug that causes cardiovascular disease and diabetes. People, we need to demand better from our physicians. Like at this point in time, there's no excuse anymore for doctors to continue to prescribe drugs like statins. In a clinical study, diabetics with high-frequency statin users were shown to exhibit accelerated coronary artery calcification compared to those with lower statin use. The mortality rates for cardiovascular disease, cerebrovascular disease, that would be to the brain, cancer, and all causes were elevated in those with lower total cholesterol levels, especially when they went below 220 milligrams. And that's why cancer, pancreatic cancer, is one of the worst ones that are affected by or increased by cholesterol medications. Inverse associations are often observed between total cholesterol levels and all-cause mortality, meaning the lower your cholesterol is as you age, the greater chance you are of dying. So thank God for high cholesterol. Incidence of diabetes mellitus was greater in the statin user group and appears to have increased along with period of statin use. Coronary artery disease or coronary heart disease mortality in statin user group was higher and appears to have increased along with the length of statin use when compared with non-statin users. This is the clinical studies. This is the research. You are literally being given a suicide drug that just kills you slower. The U.S. veterans, so our military members, U.S. veterans, the mortality from cardiovascular disease was higher in statin user group than in those, and it was dose dependent. So some people may want to, you could sit here and common sense could argue this fact, argue this one. Say, well, they have heart disease, their cholesterol is higher, so that we have to put them on a drug. But the research actually proves the opposite. Once you're over the age of 43, that the higher your cholesterol is, the longer you live. So that's not actually true, but that's what they argue, is they say, hey, they have high cholesterol, so they're already sick, so we got to medicate them, and the medicine is saving their life, it's extending their life, but they're still dying earlier than groups that don't take statins. That's why we need everybody on statins. But it was dose dependent. Dose dependent, meaning the more drugs they put the people on, the higher the statin dose, the faster they died, the faster they developed cognitive problems. I always say the best thing a statin drug would do for you is cause you to have memory loss, and then you forgot to take your drug. And that's the good thing about the side effects, I guess. Skeletal muscle weakness, muscle kinase, or pain, skeletal muscle cell death, elevate. That's a lovely, lovely effect of the drug. Phenomena. Statins have been demonstrated to decrease concentration of mitochondrial muscle. All this stuff is great, great information. Let's read this one right here. Let's skip ahead. There were no adverse effects from statin drug discontinuation. So get that. No, in clinical studies, there was no adverse effects from statin drug discontinuation. So if you're watching this right now, get this study off my website, all right? Get this study. I forget whether I had to pay for this one or not. But anyways, you can go to that right there. No adverse effects from statin drug discontinuation. So there's no side effect from getting off your drug. You're only going to live longer if you get off of it. Effective chiropractic treatment on blood pressure. And here's the reason I want to talk about blood pressure, because again, anything has to do with cardiovascular disease. Beta blockers don't stop heart attack and stroke. The Journal of American Medical Association, wow, they produced a study that actually said that their drugs don't work, and then the doctors continue to prescribe it. Funny, doctors are research-based, right? Scientifically based. Drugs are the only scientifically based treatment for cardiovascular disease. It's the only FDA-approved treatment. You can't use garlic, you can't use nutrition, you can't say chiropractic helps with blood pressure. The research says it, the FDA doesn't, but the FDA works for the pharmaceutical companies, so I don't really listen to what they say. I don't really care what they say. But again, I'm reading the research. I must state that these statements have not been approved by the FDA. Just remember that. Journal of American Medical Association looked at over 45,000 patients with prior heart attack, coronary artery disease, or risk factors for coronary artery disease, found that those on beta blockers didn't show significantly lower rates of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular mortality. This is a very compelling study that has the potential to shake up the conventional wisdom that exists regarding a role of beta blockers in the management of patients with cardiovascular disease. That is Dr. Randall Thomas of Mayo Clinic. I don't know if anybody else sees this stuff other than me. It's a very compelling study. Shake up the conventional wisdom. Well, here's the fact. You're not very wise if you're prescribing a drug that's never been proven effective. So how is he saying the wisdom, conventional wisdom? This is going to shake up the conventional ignorance of the medical community. That's what it should say. Effects of chiropractic treatment on blood pressure and anxiety, randomized controlled trial. Again, Journal of Manipulative Physiological Therapeutics, 1988. And again, the other study, or another study I have right here, was a study, Journal of Human Hypertension. So this is not a chiropractic journal. This is osteopathic and chiropractic combined. This is not. This is a cardiovascular. American Heart Association's one of their journals. Journal of Human Hypertension, atlas vertebra, that'll be the top bone in the spine, a very specific realignment of that bone. There were no adverse effects recorded. We conclude that the restoration of atlas alignment is associated with marked and sustained reductions in blood pressure, similar to 2 medications taken in combination. No side effects, better than 2 medications. Phenomenal. Lay on the table, let's adjust, let's get that atlas back in the right alignment. You need a detailed evaluation of the spine. It's not just general manipulation. So it's not just generalized mobility work that needs to be done on the spine, which is beneficial in some ways. You need to be very, very specific. That's why there's a neurologically based chiropractors out there. You need to see those who are very specific with their adjustments. Adjust with x-rays, detail that alignment, adjust it specifically, you'll see your blood pressure come down. Results indicated that the systolic and diastolic pressures decreased significantly, the active treatment condition, whereas no significant changes occurred in the placebo or control conditions. The state of anxiety significantly decreased in those patients. So people with anxiety, and this is the reality, when your spine is out of alignment, what it's doing is it's causing a sympathetic stress response. It's increasing the sympathetic tone. If that occurs, your body is interpreting, your nervous system is in a state at which it's like it's running from a tiger. And if you're all running from a tiger, everybody's blood pressure is going to go up. You're also going to be quite anxious. You're going to be hiding in the corner saying, where's the tiger? Is he coming at me? Where's he at? Where's he at? You're going to have a lot of anxiety if you're running from a tiger. But if your spine is shifted, putting pressure and tension on the nervous system, it's going to induce that sympathetic tone, that stress response. You've got to get pressure and tension off that nerve. Again, going back to, you need to check the spine, you need to check your nutrition, you need to check your exercise routine. If you do those things, you're going to get to the root cause of cardiovascular disease. Osteopathic manipulation. Guys, Journal of Bodywork and Movement Therapies. Osteopathic manipulation as complementary treatment for prevention of cardiac complications, 12 months follow-up. Intima media and blood pressure on a cohort affected by hypertension. Osteopathic treatment was significantly associated with an improvement in all primary endpoints in cardiovascular disease right there. Zapping nerves, I just love this. I just love to cross-reference with studies like this. Zapping nerves helps control blood pressure. So the medical community knows that interference in the nervous system causes hypertension, causes blood pressure problems. So what they want to do, the fact that the treatment also improves blood sugar control, so taking pressure off your nerves improves your blood sugar as well. Unlike the other drugs you can get which cause diabetes, this one helps. The side effects are improved blood sugar. Yeah. They want to electrocute the nerves, to deaden the nerves, to reduce the stress responses, to reduce sympathetic tone going to arteries that would cause the blood pressure to go up. 12 grand, okay? So I'm making an offer right now. If anybody wants to come in, I'm only charging 10 grand for my adjustments. Not 12 grand like that study for zapping, electrocuting your nerves. All right, so let's talk about the other things. We get a few more minutes. I got 4% on my computer. Maybe that's my computer's. Is Facebook messing up here? Because, like, I'm way delayed here. For coronary artery disease, meds as effective as stents. Neither is effective, though. Archives of Internal Medicine is where this is published. The results of the analysis don't come as a surprise. This is what's so crazy about our medical community again. The results, and these are medical doctors saying this, the results of the analysis showing that stents don't actually extend your life, results of the analysis don't come as a surprise to many cardiologists who say the knowledge that stents aren't effective in preventing death or heart attack is widespread. Then why is it widespread that millions of people have stents put in their arteries every year? See, it's unacceptable. David Fishman, co-director of cardiac catheterization lab at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia, said there was never any evidence that they reduce risk of death or prevent heart attack in patients with stable disease. Some say that the way the U.S. healthcare payment system encourages hospitals and doctors to perform revenue-generating procedures. Again, it's not based on science, it's based on what makes money. Procedures rather than prescribing medications. Procedures to insert stents can cost as much as $50,000. The authors of the current analysis estimate that avoiding stents by treating patients with medication only could save the healthcare system $9,450 per patient. That would be, it would save people money, but hospitals would lose money. Patients need to understand that simply putting in a stent in a blockage doesn't address the underlying problem. No extra benefits are seen in stents for coronary artery disease. The procedures, again, $30,000 to $50,000. More than 1 million are performed every year, yet cardiologists, or at least the majority, know that it does nothing, yet they don't tell their patients that typically, unless you get a really, really honest one. I mean, the reality is, you can't it's risk for death is about, because here's the thing. The studies on the nutritional-based therapies that are proven to reverse cardiovascular disease, some of these pictures in this artery, reversing the plaquing of the artery, phenomenally. Just look at that. That artery went from here to there. Unplaqued, opened up that artery. Better than a stent could do. This nutritional-based therapy, a plant-based diet, was so effective, better than anything else that medicine can offer. But do doctors actually want to sit down with their patients for 5 hours? No, they just wouldn't. The insurances won't pay for that, and doctors don't have the time. They got hundreds of patients they're seeing every day. They're just going bam, 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 thank you, ma'am, going from the next one. It took 5 hours on a Saturday, and sadly a lot of people wouldn't take 5 hours out of a Saturday to actually extend their life by multiple years and prevent coronary artery disease. But we need to get people to understand listen, you can waste your money on those other interventions, but they're not going to extend your life, and in fact, many of them are going to kill you sooner. If you change your nutrition, become friends with your local farmer, not your local pharmacist, you're going to live longer. I like that. Befriend your local pharmacist, or your farmer, not your pharmacist. And that's the way you'll live longer. No extra benefits are seen in statins. Some of the points I wanted to show you here, risk of death is about 1 in 1,000. Complications include stroke, heart attack, bleeding, kidney damage, serious allergic reactions. So they know it doesn't extend your life, but they know that it actually shortens your life because it causes stroke, causes a heart attack, causes your kidney damage, serious allergic reactions to the metal in your body, bleeding disorders. Combining data from all studies, the researcher found that prescribing beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, statins, and daily aspirin was as effective at killing people as implanting stents. They didn't actually say killing people, but when you take in the evidence that those drugs actually kill people faster than doing nothing, then you would see that stents actually kill people too. So, now, listen to this. Dr. Brown, they interviewed me for this one. No, they didn't. This is actually Dr. Brown. It's Dr. Brown, professor of medicine at Stony Brook University. That's the Dr. Brown. I like the guy. He's got a good name. The reason he believes is financial. Why do doctors continue doing this? He believes it's financial. In many hospitals, cardiac service line generates 40% of the total hospital revenue, so there's incredible pressure to do more procedures. When you put in a stent, everyone's happy. The hospital is making more money, the doctor is making more money, everybody is happier except the healthcare system as a whole and the family who loses their father or mother, or grandmother or grandfather. The patient is no better off, just the system has made more money. Archives of Internal Medicine, where many of these studies come from, outside of an emergency, there is no known life-saving effects of stents. The vast majority of people who have this procedure have the expectation that it will help them live longer. That belief is out of alignment with the evidence. Some theories suggest that stenting reduces mortality by improving blood flow or stabilizing plaques. There's nothing to support those ideas. Coronary artery disease, the authors wrote, that is a systemic inflammatory disease of the arteries, and that's where you need to get rid of the root, the inflammation, where it's coming from. Is it neurogenic inflammation from stress and pressure on your nervous system? Is it poor nutrition, way too many bad fats, not enough healthy vegetables, so antioxidants? I mean, you just a plant-based diet, antioxidants, get to those things. Successful to treat surgical intervention at a particular artery. According to Dr. Brown, professor of Stony Brook University, many doctors cannot accept this. They cannot accept the reality and the facts. Interventional cardiologists use the analogy of a pipe blocked in a house. It's a terrible analogy, but patients accept this. Accept it. It's simplistic but erroneous. Doctors discovered the blockage of George W. So former President George W. Bush was hospitalized on Tuesday to treat a blocked artery in his heart. That was our taxpayer money, you know that, right? That paid for this sham, bogus treatment. So these stents will actually attract your immune cells and plaque will build up faster, and 25% of stented arteries will be blocked again in 6 months. So they do a procedure, the hospital does a procedure that the system will generate about $30,000 to $50,000 in profit. And then 6 months later, they know that 25% of those people will be back for more heart procedures. And then they can do the bypass surgery for about $100,000. It's just more money. They don't want to sit down with patients and say, listen, we have got to change your diet. We have got to get you checked by a chiropractor. We've got to get you exercising. That's the only way you're going to extend your life. It's the only way you can reverse this condition. Otherwise, you're going to be right back in here paying us tens of thousands of dollars. You're going to go bankrupt. You're not going to be able to afford your mortgage. You're going to declare bankruptcy. They trigger clots to form. That's what the stents do. They trigger clots to form. Bush's office released the following statement. The former president urged others to get regular checkups to detect heart issues early when they are treatable and less risky and less invasive procedure. Putting a stent in, literally going in and putting a piece of metal in your arteries is less invasive procedure. And he encourages us all to get your regular checkups do nothing unless your doctor gives you an apple instead of a sucker on your way out. Like literally. Like, you know what I mean? Like doctors give away suckers to kids. Like that, like when my mom used to take me to our pediatrician, sadly, I know it, folks. I have forgiven my mother. She is forgiven for taking me to somebody who poisoned me. But the reality is, I walked out with a sucker every time. Literally, it's like, Here, kid, here's the little bit of your dosage of diabetes. I look forward to seeing you when you're 50 years old when you have diabetes and heart disease from all the suckers I gave you. And I coaxed you into being addicted to sweets and sugar. It's a return business. All right, folks, we got to wrap this up for the evening. I appreciate everybody joining in. Make sure you're sharing this stuff. Listen to this stuff. Intensive lifestyle changes for reversal of coronary or heart disease. Intensive lifestyle changes. More than twice as many cardiovascular events occurred in the non-treatment group. A 91% reduction in the frequency of angina. That would be tightness in the chest, reduced blood flow to the heart. Diameter stenosis regressed. So the stenosis, so the hardening of the narrowing of the arteries reduced by 40%. Usual care group, that would be all the drugs. More moderate changes in lifestyle reduced LDL cholesterol levels by 6% and had a 165% increased frequency of angina. Average percent diameter stenosis progressed by 42.7 to 46.1%. So their disease process progressed under medical drug treatment. They got worse while eating a plant-based diet, reversed it. This stuff, here is one of the most interesting things about these studies. That they literally said treatment deserves a wider test to see if adherence can be sustained in a broader population. So a way to reverse coronary artery disease, CAD, coronary artery disease, the study right here, they had to see if adherence was sustainable, whether they could actually get a population of people to do what was necessary to reverse the disease. Guys, this stuff was simple. So, whole grains. Now, if you wanted to reduce your cardiovascular disease, there are grains, especially GMOs, and when we look at hybridized and our chemically sprayed grains, we're ingesting toxins, and that causes inflammation, that causes damage. So you got to go non-GMO and organic on your whole grains. Legumes, lentils, vegetables, fruit comprise a major portion of the diet. We reassured patients that the balanced and varied plant-based nutrition would cover all their needs and amino acids. We encouraged them to take a multivitamin, a B12 supplement. We also advised the use of flaxseed meal. Flaxseed is phenomenal both for cancer and heart disease, which served as an additional source of omega-6s and omega-3s, essential fatty acids, from a healthy source. Foods that were prohibited. Initially, the intervention avoided all added oils and processed foods that contained oils: fish, meat, fowl, dairy products, avocados, nuts, excess salts. Now, avocados, those types of things have been shown to be cardiovascular protective, such as the oils from flaxseed, those things. But at the time, patients were also asked to avoid sugary foods, sucrose, fructose, drinks containing them, refined carbohydrates, fruit juices, sucrose, molasses, and you got to avoid, because the research also shows that artificial sweeteners cause plaquing, hardening of the arteries, and are toxic to arterial walls that cause inflammation and increases insulin resistance. Subsequently, we also excluded caffeine and fructose. That's it, folks. That's the most research-based, effective treatment for coronary artery disease. Guys, we got to get back to the basics. We got to get people to realize that what they're doing, if it's coming from the pharmacy, it's not helping them. They got to get it from the farmer. That's your best. And you know what? Those drugs, thousands of dollars a year, and they're harming you. Why don't we pay our local farmer? Get to a good chiropractor in your area. Get people to address the underlying causes. If your doctor is not getting to the underlying causes, you ask your doctor very, very specifically, I don't want my drugs anymore. I want to get well. I want to get healthy. What can you do for me to help me address the underlying causes of my problems, my health problems? And if they say, all I got is drugs, there's nothing I can do, or if they give you some excuse and they say, nope, these drugs are the most effective, then they've lied to you. And you say, well, thank you very much. I'm going to go give my business to someone else who is going to help change this healthcare system and change the route and the direction America's on. We're the sickest industrialized nation in the world. We've got to do something about it, and we can. We just got to take the evidence and research that's right there at our fingertips and apply it and give people the truth. All right, everybody, I appreciate the opportunity to speak truth into your lives and help you live a healthier and longer life. Again, I'm Dr. Dale. I'm the Wild Doc. Get out there and find you some wood ear. I talked about that the last time. Wood ear is my wife made this hot and sour soup, traditional Chinese recipe, using wood ear mushroom, which grows prolifically around this area, across North America. I mean, almost across the entire globe, wood ear, and it literally looks like an ear on the wood. Phenomenal. It tasted, had a crunchiness, and we dehydrated it, and then what we do, and I'm going to get you some recipes, and we're going to shoot some recipe videos for this, but dehydrated it, and then when you rehydrate in like a chicken stock or a broth, what it does is absorbs the flavor from those broths. Tastes phenomenal, has a little crunch to it, great texture. Oh, tasted, we got leftovers, so that's where I'm going right now. Help myself prevent heart disease from a wilderness remedy. All right, take care, everybody. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak truth into your lives. Be well, and keep your health on the wild side. Hey, everybody, I'm the Wild Doc, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you hop on over to thewilddoc.com. Subscribe there for our newsletter and email campaign. Join in the conversation on Facebook, and let's transform the world by unleashing the power of natural healing.